Good afternoon, everybody. So I know I started this stream, sorry, about 7 minutes early, but it's okay. I just want to start it early and finish it early. So today going to be covering a very quick session about states. Okay, so this session should not last more than 15 minutes, I believe so. So if you're here, thank you. Okay, today I have something very important to share with you guys. So make sure you're just here until the end of the session. I promise I won't make it long. Now, so what will we be covering in this session is states, and the states mainly we will be covering two topics: cookies and sessions. Okay, most of you are aware of what cookies are. I mean, if you visit any type of website, they usually ask you to accept their cookie terms and so on and so forth. Why? I'm going to tell you why, and I'm going to show you how we are using cookies and what type of cookie and how do cookie work. Okay, the same thing after that, we're going to be moving towards sessions and why do we have sessions and why do we use it. All right, all right. So if you have used any web application before, you have noticed that sometimes you need to go from one page to the other, right? And while we're trying to code PHP, once you go from one page to the other, we tend to lose the code or the logic from one page to the other, right? For example, if we store a page and let's say we have page A or PG1, and we go to the second one, it does not exist. Let me show you an example. I'm going to declare over here, and yes, I'm using the same exact document that we have used in the previous session. So let me just create a PHP tag. Okay, and yes, I have this stream on high latency, so that means you guys would receive this after no, sorry, after exactly 20 seconds. The reason I have it on high latency, so that you guys can go backwards and maybe you can watch me live. So I'm just giving you a buffer that you guys can go backwards. Okay, so try to create a PHP and let's declare a variable. Let me just call this a test var, right? And over here, I'm going to have my name. Okay, and inside my body, I'm just going to echo this variable out, echo test var, right? Right now, if I go here and refresh, I can see the variable. However, let me create a new page. I will call it print, sorry, let me control shift S. Then I'm going to create print name.php. Okay, and over here, I'm just going to open a PHP tag. And I'm going to copy the same variable or the same echo sentence over here, right? So because over here we have already declared our variable and we have the values over here, we can see it. But once we try to navigate to, for example, print name.php, it will tell me that this variable is undefined. So this is a very important thing to understand, that once you declare a variable in one page, it would not be available in the other page. And while we're trying to create web application, this becomes a hassle to us, right? We need sometimes to have global variables that we use throughout multiple pages. For example, Facebook. Facebook is actually built upon PHP. Right now, they have multiple technologies used together, but they use PHP. In Facebook, if you open multiple tabs in Facebook, you will always see that your name, whatever post you have created, or so on and so forth, it always exists over there. Even though you have multiple pages, your information is also stored, okay? And once you close and open, your information also is stored. So this is used, or this is done using cookies or sessions. So what are cookies or sessions? Okay, uh, these are variables, okay, that are stored in your browser or on your server. Okay, I'm going to focus first thing about cookies. So give me a minute. Cookies, at this early stage, they were used to identify the user. So once you log in, they used to store your email address inside of a cookie in your browser. In fact, if you go to your browser over here and you navigate to this I, click, you can see your cookies over here. Right now, we did not create any cookies and we're not trying to use any cookies, right? Okay, it's good to see 17 people over here. Please ask all of your friends to attend this session. Probably it's going to be the last session. Okay, so cookies are stored in a browser, and they can be accessed at any time. They are not stored in a web server, they're not stored in a database, so on and so forth. So this will help a web application to identify who is the user who is logged into this device. So once you log in, it only store your email, and once you open it, you can the application would automatically know, hey, it's this computer, and this is the user that who logged in before, and let's fetch his information. So this is on its early stages. Right now, of course, it has improved, and we are using tokens and so on and so forth. And even cookies right now are used in many different ways. For example, analytics, and Facebook is using cookies which actually caused a bit of controversy. They're using cookies to track your visits, the site visits or the sites that you're trying to visit. What is the timing? What is your geographical location? So on and so forth. So they can create some sort of ads towards you. Okay, so cookies are stored to identify who is a user and whatever information is related to it. And this can be accessed from multiple tabs only by the page itself. So let's try to create our first cookie. So to create our cookie, let me just go back here to the index page. Okay, I don't need all of this anymore. Cookies have a name and have a value. So the first thing, let's try to create a variable. We'll call it cookie name. Okay, and I'm going to call this user. And then I'm going to create another variable called cookie value. And then I'm going to have it as my name. Okay, so the cookie name or the cookie variable name is going to be user, and the value is going to be lots alive. So how do we store this cookie? Right now, if I control S, refresh, of course nothing's over here, and we don't see any cookies over here, right? So how can I create my cookie? Well, there is a predefined function that exists in PHP known as set cookie. Okay, so let's create this. And then I want you to click, if you're using VS Code, I want you to click Control and hover over set cookie, right? And there you go. So set cookie, the first thing that it accepts is a name. The name is the cookie name. And then the second thing it accepts is the value. What is the information that you're going to store in this cookie? And then after that is the options. So the options can be the expiry date. Let me show you over here. So we can, for example, store the expiry date, the path where it's going to be stored in, the domain and whether it's limited or no, the security, and whether it's HTTP only or HTTPS. Okay, we're only going to focus up to expiry, right? Because this is what we really need to know. We need to create a cookie and we need to set an expiry date. So let's try to create our cookie. So the first thing we're going to have our cookie name. Okay, then comma, and then we're going to have our cookie value. Okay, then comma. Then we are going to start setting the time. So to set the time, we can use a time predefined function, which is going to get us the current date or the current time for our browser. And then we're going to add to it 1 day. So 1 day is going to be equivalent to 886,400 seconds. So this is 1 day. If we want to have it more, we can multiply it. Let me say I want to have it for 1 week. I can multiply it into 7. So this is 886,400 seconds multiplied by 7. So that's 7 days plus the current date. So 7 days from now. Okay. And then we can say the path is the root or the current folder. Control S. Right now, if you refresh, you look over here, we have already created our first cookie. You can navigate to localhost cookie, and there you go, user. And there you go, you can see the information that I try to store. Let's try to, for example, create another cookie, right? Let me try to create a cookie, for example, user email. Let me say user email. Okay, and I'm going to have over here example@example.com. Okay, and let's me refresh. Look over here, and it's going to tell me that we are using 2 cookies, right? So this is how we can create cookies. We can create multiple cookies by using this function and setting the cookie name and the cookie value and the time. How long do we want this cookie to last for? And The cookie information or how long the expiry date is for is very important, especially when you're trying to save information that is related to the user. Let's say, for example, uh, in fact, you're going to see it in a lot of web pages. If you don't log into, let's say, your Twitter account or your GitHub account for a really long time, let's say a month, and you try to open your Twitter or GitHub account after 1 month, it's going to ask you to log in again. This is because the cookie has already expired. So this is why we set timing for cookies. Okay, the longest time you can have it, for example, up to 100 years, I believe. So that's up to you. But usually have a defined time and let this cookie renew every time the person logs in, okay, or extend the time period. So this is how we can fetch the cookie. This is how we can set the cookie. So how can we fetch the cookie? Let me see if you guys are watching me properly. Okay, 25 students. What about, I have 80 students. Out of these 80 students, I have 25 only. Okay, it's no problem. No problem. All right. So how can I fetch the information from the cookie, right? Just like what I've showed you before, the get and post variables, cookie is also a global variable inside PHP. So so the cookie is actually an array, and it's like this, cookie, okay, and it's predefined like this. This is how it exists in PHP. It's a normal array variable, okay. This is how it's defined. And once we are trying to use this function, so it's basically inserting into this cookie an array with this name, an associative array with this name and this value. So to see what cookies have, or the values of the cookies that we have, different time region, it's okay. It does not depend on the time region because you're not over here getting the time of the server, you're getting the time of the user himself, right? So depending on the user's machine itself, the time would be set, not depending on the server time. And even when you're speaking about 7 days and time region, the maximum difference is going to be 7 days, so it's okay. You should not worry much about the time difference and the expiry date for a cookie when it especially comes to this manner, right? Okay, so how can we fetch the information from our cookie? We can just write, it's an array, so let's write print r, okay, and let's select cookie, Control S, refresh, and there you go. So it's basically an array that contains a value or the name of the variable and the value, right? So if you want to fetch it, the way we can do this is by, let's say, echo, and let's say cookie. Nope, sorry, this is not what I meant. Okay, and selecting the variable inside our associative array. For example, over here I have got Salah, which is the user. Okay, equal. And let me just add a breaking tag for ease of understanding. Okay, so let me copy this and let me also print the email. Oh yeah, what did I have it over here? User's email, yes. So if it does not exist, of course, it's going to give you an error. Tell you this variable does not exist. In fact, this is not an error, this is a notice. So there are two types of errors that exist in PHP. The first one is a notice, the second one is a warning, okay? A warning means there is a syntax error or a logical error. Notice means the application did not stop working, but there is definitely something that you should take care of, okay? So for example, over here, it should told us that email does not exist. So this is a notice. And then depending on this notice, we can act. In fact, you can disable it by just having, for example, let me just do this. Okay. And just using the at, and the notice is going to disappear. But always have the notices appear so to know if there is an issue or not, right? So, and there you go. So this is how we fetch the information from our cookie variables. Okay, so we learned what is a cookie and how they can be used and how we can set them. And the power of a cookie is that we can also fetch them from another pages. As I showed you in the previous example, if it's a normal variable and we go to another page, which is print name, we won't get it. But since it's a cookie, if we go to this page, there you go. So cookies, since they exist inside the browser, they can be accessed from any page within our application or web application, right? Now, Sir, you have taught us how to create a cookie and how to use it and how to fetch the information. So how can we delete a cookie? Well, to delete a cookie, it's not like a variable, right? You do not use pop for array to pop or remove the array variable. In fact, the way that is recommended to delete a cookie is by changing the expiry date. So, for example, over here, let me just check this. Okay, where's the expiry date? So over here, if you check, the expiry date says May 7th, 2020, right? That means after May 7th, it's going to be expired. So, and the cookie is going to be automatically deleted by the browser. So in order for us to delete our cookie, we just need to set an expiry date that has already passed. So to delete a cookie, we can use this. Let me just try to use this function over here. Okay, then we're going to use the same exact thing, set cookie, and then select, which is, what do we have it over here? User, right? Yes. Then we're going to say select user, and be aware, it's case sensitive. Okay, there isn't going to be any values. Okay, and then the expiry time will say time, and we'll say minus. Instead of plus, we're going to add minus, and let's say 36,000 or 3,600 seconds, right? So this has already, or this expiry date has already passed. So now the browser will just update the time for the cookie, and it will delete it automatically. Let's test this. So right now over here, what happened? Our cookies have deleted automatically? No, they still exist. Yeah, okay. There was an error in the browser. Okay, so over here, our cookies exist. Once we go to the new page, enter. Okay, we check. If you check over here, user should be expired. Now, once we go back, we refresh our page. This is supposed to work. What is the issue? What's the difference in the name? This is not even possible. Oh, yes. My bad. I forgot one thing that is very important, which is the path. Don't forget the path. Okay. So let's do this. And right now, let's try to go back to our page, which is this one. Refresh. Let me just clear out all of my cookies. Yes, they don't exist anymore. I know. Refresh. Now one of them exists. Try to create a user variable. I'm going to have my name again. That's a lot. Okay, sorry guys, this was a simple mistake. So there we go, and we have two cookies, right? So right now, in order for me to delete this, I need to also select the path, which is this one. Now let's go to the other page, which is print name. Print name.php. Okay, if we refresh this page, right now our cookie should be deleted. Why isn't it deleting? I don't know. Probably it's a different. Oh, it got deleted. Just required a refresh. Yep, got deleted. Okay. So this is how you delete, and exist because we over here have created it again. So this is how we delete our cookies, right? We just set them to a date that has already expired. Now, cookies exist even if we close our browser and we try to open it again. And we refresh, it's going to exist. So this is the power of the cookie. Even if the browser closes and opens, we can still fetch this information. So you can use cookies to use the functionality of Remember Me, right? When you log in into web browsers and you try to click on the Remember Me button, this is how they do it. They store a token inside your cookies, and then this token is fetched, and they identify which user, and they start fetching the information and sending it back to you. Now, so remember, the cookie is a storage, some sort of storage that is inside your browser. Now we have the second thing, which is sessions. So cookies are stored inside the browser, which is the client side. Sessions is just exactly like cookies, but they are stored on the server side. And the only difference between, the second difference between cookies and sessions is that sessions have an automatic expiry. So sessions exist when the browser is live. Let me show you an example. Okay, over here, I'm going to create first thing, we need to start a session. So start session, or session start, sorry, session start. Let me see if there's any questions. Session underscore start. Okay. And then over here, we start creating our session variable. So just remember that sessions are an array, just like our cookies. So we identify by writing sessions. And then we give the variable name, which is, let's say, user. Okay. And then we say equal to, and I'm going to have my name, right? 5 Salah. And then let's print all the session variables. So print underscore r, then session, Control S, refresh our page, and there you go. So this is our array. So let me just comment this out. Now we have already declared our variable, right? And if you see, we already have it. In fact, if we go to another tab, let's say for example, we go over here, we copy this to our print name, and we have this over here, refresh. Oh yes, sorry, always remember to start your session in each and every page. That's why object-oriented PHP is very important. Okay, so just start session and then identify the variable. So right now in sessions, as you see, it functions the same way as cookies, and we can fetch the variable in multiple pages. But the difference is once we close the browser and we open the browser again and we refresh, this is not supposed to work. This is new to me, to be honest. Oh yeah, the session ID still exists. Okay. Okay, this is... Okay, sessions are supposed to disappear once the browser is closed or once the computer is restarted. So how does session work and how does cookies work? Okay, cookies are stored inside the web browser. Sessions are stored on the server side, right? And sessions, so how does a browser know who is this user? Sessions create a token that is stored inside the browser. Okay, then you can see it over here. And this is used as your ID, or this browser's ID. And using this ID, it's going to fetch the information from your server depending on your ID. So we can store multiple session variables the same way we store cookies, but they don't have an expiry date. They expire the same way by closing the browser. Or we can also delete all of our sessions by using unset or session unset. Let me just try to. Okay, we can do this. Session score unset. Okay, if you refresh over here, it works. Refresh again. It's not supposed to work. I'm on index. Oh, sorry. This is index. And there we go. So we can use this session unset to delete our session variables. Okay. What if you want to delete a specific, let's say a specific session variable? For example, let me just create this again. We want to delete, we have user. Okay. And let's say we have email. Okay, control refresh. So let's say, for example, we want to delete just the email, right? I just want to delete the email. Now, after I declared them, just let me comment them out. And they still exist. So how can I do that? I can use unset, okay? And then I would identify which variable that I want to remove inside session. So I'm going to go over here and say email, right? Control S, now refresh again, and there you go. This is how you can delete a specific session. What if you want to delete all of them? Well, you can destroy the complete session by using session underscore destroy. Okay, so this is going to completely close the current session and give you a new session ID. Okay, over here. This is going to be changed. So let's refresh, and there you go. Now that's it for today's lesson. Now let's start discussing the... Sir, we have to prioritize both cookies and session or just sessions from our server side? Okay, Sharon, when it comes to cookies and session, you need to understand how crucial or how sensitive is the information you're trying to save. For example, let's say you are trying to save an information that a password. A password should always be stored on the server side, never on the client side. So never use cookies, right? But for example, you want to know who is this user. So you can store the user's ID as a cookie inside the browser. Okay, so depending on the value that you're storing and how sensitive it is, this is where you decide whether it's going to be a session or whether it's going to be a cookie. Cookies and sessions are always used. Okay, in fact, we use cookies to start creating our sessions or building up our sessions. For example, we're going to store the user's ID and his credentials inside, just his ID inside a cookie. And once the browser opens up and refresh or start contacting our server, then we're going to use this ID. We're going to fetch his information, email, date of birth, and all of this, and we're going to save it inside, for example, a session. So it's live with us. So the cookie is no more used. It's just used to fetch his information and to identify who is this user. And then after that, we use the session to start fetching the information, right? All right. Any more questions? Let me just check.